Hello, this is Dan the Furniture Repairman. Today we have a couch that has a broken frame and we're going to show you how to repair this. This is a common repair, and if it happens to you, you could probably do it right in your living room. Not that difficult to do. And what we're going to do is show you how to take out the framing lumber and then put in new. So we're going to use these two tools. This is just a staple puller. I'm going to put the Amazon link where you can get this. I like this particular one. And then next to that, the wire cutters I use just to pull the staples out. So we're going to take the black fabric off. We usually end up replacing it with new because in this instance it got a little torn when it broke, but you could try to save it and reuse it. And also we have to take the fabric off. Now we don't have to take the fabric off the whole thing, just enough to pull it back so we can see where we're working. And we can see what's going on right there. The cross piece right there is pushed down. The staples gave away. Looks like that knot popped out. Everything just kind of blew apart there. My favorite part is this giant hole right here on this corner bracket. I'm not too sure how that's supposed to work when it's not touching it, but there you can see it. What I did first is I found a board that I'm going to put in, and it's a little larger than the opening, and I'm going to tap it in. The reason why I'm doing it is you can see those serpentine springs in the couch that go back and forth. When I take that board out, they're going to want to pull that closed, and it's going to make it harder for me to put the replacement board in. So this kind of keeps the couch in the correct position, makes the repair much easier. Now, there's a bunch of staples. Usually there's tons of staples in these things. I'm just using a little pneumatic tool with a metal cutter on the end. You could use wire snips. Some guys chisel that stuff out. Whatever it is you got to do to get that out, just go ahead and get them out. Sometimes a pry bar is good enough. I find it's easier to cut them and then just lift it out like that, and then I go back. Now this is the other end. Once one side's out, you just go ahead and pull it up, and there you go. You can see. Do you think they used enough staples? I'm not too sure they had any left when they were done. So they did glue this part on, and a little bit of that tore out when I removed the board. So I'm going to get it out of my way. And all I'm doing right now is I'm just cutting a couple of slots right there. I'm going to come back with my chisel, and with a planer cut, I'm just going to tap that and get that smoothed down, because I don't want that pushing my board back off my new board. It's going to have to settle right back on there. So there's all the wood out of the way. Now this is a die grinder, and I'm just sanding off the rest of that residue. But I also use it to knock down the staples that are left in there. It kind of smooths them out. It's a very aggressive grit. I believe that's an 80 grit on that little die grinder. And this is my replacement board now. And you can see everything stays in place because I have that temporary board in place holding everything tight. So this is going to sit down right there. I just basically cut it off the length of the other board, so it should fit. Now we're good, so I'll double check that. What I have to do next is we have to make the board exactly the same. So this board had T-nuts, these are called. This is where the leg screwed onto. So we're going to take those out. We're going to put a hole in our new board, and we're going to, there's the leg right there, and we're going to transfer that over. So first thing we're going to do is take out a bunch of staples, get the parts out. This is the top side. So the T-nut is usually coming up from the bottom. That way it doesn't pop out on you. And then the other side, it just pull off those couple staples. Now to get it out of the board, what I do is I just take the nut that was used to screw the bolt that was used to screw the leg on. I just put it in a few turns. I leave it sitting proud. Couple whacks with my old hammer right there, and what it does, it pops the T-nut out of the bottom on the other side. There it is, and I'm going to unscrew it and reuse it. Now I put the old board on top of the new board, and I'm just transferring the hole. I'm not measuring, I'm not doing anything. There we go. That's exactly where it's got to be. And then I'm going to finish drilling the hole right down through there. Once I have the hole drilled, I'm just going to put my T-nut back in place, and a couple good whacks with the hammer. We're going to drive it back home. Now I know I got this split right here at the end of the board. This is called a heart check. It doesn't really make the board weaker, but the way this leg sits, it will maybe tend to crack. So I'm going to put a couple nails through it to strengthen it. So first thing I'm going to do is start with a little just good old-fashioned carpenter's glue, wood glue, and then a razor blade, and I'm going to just start working it into that crack. And I flip it over and I do the same process on the other side, so I get a decent amount of glue in there. After that, to drive the finish nails, I don't nail them in. What I do is I put them in my drill. So I just take my finish nail, and you can see right there, I put it in the chuck, And it's a little bit difficult to get it right. Sometimes it gets a little crooked in there. But basically what I want is I want that finished nail in the chuck. There we go, just like that. And that's what you should end up with. And it's got to be long enough, and I'm going to just use the drill and I'm going to drill it right in. Once I have it in, I'm going to loosen it off and then just put the chuck right on the head of the nail and push it in a little bit further, and that's what I'm going to end up with. So most of the work is done. I know they're going straight, they're not bending, and then after that, back to a couple good whacks with that hammer. There you go. And we're going to drive that in, and what it's going to do is those nails are going to push that split closed, and when everything dries, that should be nice and strong. Now this is going inside, nobody's going to see it, but you know, it's craftsmanship. So I'm going to lightly just sand over the crack while the glue's still wet, force a little sawdust in there, and there it goes. Bing bang boom. It's almost like it never happened. I know it's strong now. I'm not worried about it breaking again. After that, we're going to have to put it in place. So before I do that, I want to do something about that gap right there. So I'm going to put this little block of wood in there, but I got the fabric on one side and it's not something I can nail very easily. So what I'm going to do is create like a scab joint, is what we would call it back home. We're going to use a little piece of wood to span between the two of them, and there you go. There's my little piece of wood that's going on there. Flip it over, and this time what I'm doing is I'm just shooting some staples into it. That'll hold it for the glue to dry and keep it in place. So here goes my staples, you know, maybe 3, 4, and then between the staples and the glue it's not moving, and then I'm just going to slide it right there in that gap. Now when this flexes next time, it's going to press against the side the way it's supposed to be. It's going to be much better supported. It's going to be much stronger. Now I have my board in place, and I'm pulled back enough of the fabric to get a screw or two through the outside plywood. Now this is like OSB, it's not that strong, so I'm just gonna have to tie things together more than normal, because I have things that aren't that strong holding things together that are strong. So a couple screws in, and then you can see I've got my screws now into my bracket that I made nice and strong, and then I'm going to go up top. You can see the hole where my T-nut is. Now this is the second board, the one I was using as a temporary board, and I'm going to put that to good use because I'm going to use that perpendicular and maybe really make this a very strong piece. And you can see I transferred the angle just like that. I just cut it on my miter saw, chop saw, whatever you want to do it. Cut it with a handsaw. And I already drilled my pilot holes, and then my countersink holes. I just put a bunch of them in there before I put it back on, and I left this part in so you can see me fumbling around trying to get everything lined up. But you know, I like to do this. I like to use clamps and things to hold things in place, so it just makes life easier. And then basically after that, I believe these are 1 5/8" sheetrock screws just going right in, and they're going to tie everything together. And then this thing is strong. This is very strong now. I'm not worried about it. So I put my leg back on, and they had only one hole for the leg, and I think that's one of the reasons why it split, because his leg has a bit of an angle to it and it was just torquing on that board. So what I did is I added 2 more bolts. Now I didn't put that third bolt in because I don't like it when holes line up on the grain. It tends to make the board split again. And you can see I used inserts to do it, but you could use lag bolts. You could do it however you want to do it. I like inserts because I have to put all the fabric on, and what I'm going to have to do is cut this fabric out of the way for that last insert. So you do have to make it so you can install it from the outside. And now it's just a reverse of the process I did when I took everything apart. So the cardboard goes back on, the Dacron gets stapled back on. Nothing difficult, and you can see how I've cut things back so that insert can be reached with that bolt when I put it back on. And now I'm pulling my fabric tight and making sure it's nice and smooth. And it does get a little complicated as it gets into the corner right here. So there wasn't a lot of fabric to begin with, and you know, then I pulled everything apart. Now I'm putting everything back together. So typically with fabric, I like to smooth it a lot with my hands, get it so it looks good, and then I'm going to put a couple staples in to hold it. But I won't staple it until I have it smoothed correctly. and I have it looking where I feel like, okay, that's what this should look like, because I don't want to be pulling staples. Now you could put a tack in and pull it out. Now here we go. Everything is nailed back together, stapled back together. You can see I've cut out for the insert to go back in there so that the leg will go back on, and this is what the leg looks on. Again, I didn't forget a bolt, I just left it out on purpose. Now the black fabric's on, the legs are all on, and bing bang boom, it's back at the customer's house. Look at that beautiful groovy couch and a groovy little house. This is Dan the Furniture Repairman. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions, comments, you want to call me a shoemaker, put them below. I'll try to get back to you. You all have a good day.